Behind me is Torresdale Bay, up in the far north of Scotland, in the county of Sutherland. We have the River Naver and we have the River Borgie, two of Scotland's famous classic Highland salmon rivers. Today we are up fishing the River Naver, as promised, chasing fresh run spring salmon. It's February, the weather is just what you would expect in the north of Scotland. However, there is fish in the system, the water's at a fantastic height, so we're here with Ian Wood, Crispin Rodwell, and we're going to try our best to get that tug. I hope you enjoy the show. Rising to the southwest of Ben Hope, the Naver system flows down through Altnahara into Loch Naver, Loch Naver being itself a famous salmon and sea trout fishery. Following on from that, the Naver's course follows down through the beautiful Strathnaver itself, right down to Betty Hill, where it meets the Pentland Firth. As you will see, the River Naver, over its course of approximately 18 miles, offers the salmon fisher some of the most stunning fly water that's available. The River Naver varies in size. Starting at beat 1, you're looking at a river approximately the same size as the North Esk. As we get down towards Betty Hill and Sire, the river widens out to be slightly narrower than what the Dee is. So fishing for early season salmon up on the rivers in the north of Scotland, and certainly further down south, you're going to be fishing in big cold water. So in order to maximise your chances, you kind of need to be fishing big flies as well to match that. We've got about 2 foot on the gauge in the Naver at the moment, so in response to that we need to be fishing obviously the appropriate tackle. And what I'm fishing today, I've got the Mackenzie DTX 15 foot shooting head rod. We've got the Mackenzie multi-tip system on here. The multi-tip system comes with your intermediate, your floating, and we've got the fast sinking tip as well, and we've also got the extra super fast sinking tip in here, which is the black one. On the end of that, I've got 3 foot of 19 pound fluorocarbon. That's really all you need, and then we've got a partridge of Redditch double on the actual fly itself. In terms of flies, for cold water, you want something that's going to be a bit bright, maybe a bit of weight to it just to get it down there. We've got your black and yellow Sneldas, always a good one in the spring. The water's quite peaty here, so it tends to work quite well. What also works well is your Chartreuse black, your monkeys with the cone heads, and certainly the tubes with the feelers as well. Can be quite good, and you'll pick up kelts on all these as well. Without a doubt, one of my favourites certainly is a willy gun. It's a good all-round spring fly, and good for catching fish pretty much throughout the season. So you vary the size of the fly, that's probably more important. And in this sort of height, I'll be fishing probably a 2.5 inch copper or tungsten tube just to help it get down there. And with the way the river is at the moment, that's the kind of thing that you're going to need. Again, another favourite of mine and a very popular fly up here, along with the Helmsdale. It's an Alistair. The Alistair's very similar to a Willie gun, but a bit more yellow. It's got the gold body. I've got the red head there. 2.5 inch copper tube. You know, that's the type of thing. If the springers are here, you know, they're going to nail something like this. As the water falls away, you know, coming into the later spring months and certainly the summer, you could certainly come up to your intermediate even floater and just start to use small dress flies or just normal smaller tubes, you know, an inch and a half. So the bigger the water, the bigger the fly, the lower the water, the smaller the fly, certainly in the spring. And you know, stick to the guidelines. Put yourself in the right place at the right time. That's kind of crucial as well. You know, you don't want to be in high water fishing right down at the bottom of the river. Spring salmon are heading for the top reaches of the river system when they come in. So you kind of want to be fishing near the first sort of obstacles that they hit. You know, so if there's a waterfall or falls, you know, below there, generally you're going to have a good spring pool. If not, you know, head up the top of the river and you know, fish the upper reaches, and you'll have, you know, you should pick up fish. In terms of reels, you know, again, a reel, it's for holding your line. It's not as important certainly on these rivers as it probably is on your bigger rivers down south, or certainly in Russia, you know, where you need that big drag. But nevertheless, a good wide arbor reel that's got a good drag system on it. It'll help you hold these fish, these big 20-pound springers that are meant to be here, and obviously you'll hold them against the current. So that's the setup. And in the spring, keep it simple. That's key. You don't need to get too technical in the spring. Springers, they're aggressive creatures, and they'll if they're there, they'll nail the fly. So we'll go and have a cast and see what we can do. So when spring fishing for salmon on rivers such as the Naver, it's vitally important to, you know, use the tactics to match the conditions. I see so many people going in there, you know, fishing a full floating line without any tips, and just you know, almost summer tactics. And you know, here we are up the Naver fishing the half crown pool. We've got a rise in water. It's still rising. Overnight the water's come up at least 4 to 5 inches. So my setup here is we've got a Mackenzie DTX, we've got the 15 foot, and we've got the Mackenzie multi-tip system on as well. On the end we've got the fast sink tip. We've got about 4 foot of 19 pound fluorocarbon, and then we've got a 2.5 inch bright copper tube. In fact, this is a tungsten tube, just to get down that extra bit. The River Naver's not a deep river, you know, 6-7 foot maximum in places, but you know, we're fishing into water probably between 3 and 5 foot. So it's a fast sink tip, a copper tungsten tube. If you keep it on the move, is absolutely fine. You'll see opposite me on the the opposite half of the river, you have the main current going down there, and on this side the current's a little bit slower. So really what you want to be aiming for here is to get your fly into the main current, give it an upstream bend to allow the fly to sink so it fishes in this side, which is the slower half of the river, and that's where you're gonna get the fish in this height. So in terms of rod size on a river like this in the spring, you know, you'd quite comfortably get away with a 14-foot rod, you know, even quite a pokey 13.5-foot rod. But when the river's rising like this, you're fishing with a bigger river, you know, I would certainly go for a 14.5, 15-foot rod, 10, 11 weight. Not because you need to put the line out for miles, but because, you know, in bigger water, if you do hook a good springer, you know, you're going to have a bit of a fight on your hand, and that extra bit of backbone kind of helps solve that problem. On top of that, you know, the banks, there's only limited clearance here on the banks. We've got, you know, it's thick with trees down below us and thick with trees above us, so if the fish does decide to go further, you know, you kind of want to be holding it back so you don't need to get into the water and go into the branches and stuff like that. And certainly with the water rising like this, it's not going to be a good idea. So just having that bit extra backbone, it just does a world of good. So again, tactic wise, you know, give it a quick snap, put the line out, 3/4 of the way across, upstream mend, let the fly sink down. Sometimes I take a step or two then, as opposed to after the cast. It lets the fly sink that a little bit further. And as it comes around into the slacker water there, where hopefully there'll be a fish lying, you know, just try and provoke them with that wee bit extra movement. So with our eyes on the river, we've decided to take a wee break from the fishing and head down to meet Richard Wright, who looks after the River Naver hatchery. The River Naver hatchery is very important obviously for the upkeep of the river, but on top of that it's also important for educating the local school children, considering the river is such an important part of the local economy.
They have a rural skills, it's called. It's like for sort of third and fourth years. They come and actually give a hand for a couple of hours a day on a Wednesday afternoon. Come in and give us a hand. So we caught the broodstock, had them in here in the tanks ready. And they were coming and giving us a hand to strip them and what have you.
It's a great thing to get the kids involved, eh?
It's a very good thing. I mean, as I say, when we had the school project running, we had a wall basically in the school in Becky Hill, a whole wall that was dedicated to what we did from broodstock right the way through all this, planting out, electrofishing. It was all there, which was quite good. But obviously, things change and teachers changed and things like that, and it didn't quite go the way we planned. But I mean, these were all caught up between September and it was first week in November. I think I caught my last fish this year. It was quite a long broodstock period, but weather conditions weren't very good this year. It was very dry at the start, and then it went too wet.
You stock them as fry here, yeah?
I stock them as unfed fry.
Unfed fry.
So
okay.
I'll put them in quite early, just as the yolk sack's about to disappear. I'll put them in, but I do try and put some in as eggs. Last year we had about 24,000 and we put in about 6,000 as eggs. Sure. I was planning to do that this year with 6,000 of this lot, but as I say, weather conditions haven't been favourable for it. So we'll just have to wait and see how.
So one of the important things for early spring fishing is fish recognition. Now, when you're fishing early in the season, January, February, certainly March, you're going to not just pick up, fresh fish, you're going to pick up a lot of kelts and baggots and roners as well, which baggots and roners, there's a bit of confusion. They're unclean fish. They're fish that have come in late and they haven't spawned. The baggot being the female, the roner being the male, and you'll know right away. If in doubt, it's not a springer. There's no doubt about it when you have a springer. It's like a torpedo. It's full of muscle and it's solid. You could still get silver baggots and roners, which are effectively very late run back end fish that have come in when the season's open again, and they can be silver and they can have sea lice on them. The roners, they'll have a cape. They could still be silver, but 9 times out of 10 you'll find that they're starting to colour up. And with the baggots, you're going to be looking at more of a saggy belly, and you're going to have the sort of purple, dark sheen to it, which is quite obvious that it's not a fresh fish. But the saggy belly is the dead giveaway. It's just not as pristine as what you would expect. It looks like a back end fish. You have kelts, which you will catch a lot of. Kelts, you can catch them that they've still got the sort of dark purple sheen on it for the henfish, and you've got your male fish that'll still have the cape. It's obvious that they're kelts. They're very thin. The fins could be ragged early season, and the dead giveaway, if you're really unsure, if you look in the gills, you will see that there's gill maggots in there. As the season goes on, they will start to get very silver again and look quite pristine. And this is kind of where people need to be careful, because I've seen so many salmon anglers that are kind of new to salmon angling, shout out that we've caught a springer, and you go and look at the fish, and even though it's very well mended, the fins are clean, I put up a good fight, which many of them do, that it just doesn't look right. There's a thinness to it, and you'll see from the pictures on the screen that it just doesn't look the same as a fresh run fish. So the gills, always look in the gills. If in doubt, if there's any doubt at all, it probably isn't a springer. But if you look in the gills and there's gill maggots there, you could 100% sure that it isn't a springer, even if it did give you a good fight. So you see here, it's a kilt. Obviously you've got the thin body, you've got the open vent showing that it's spawned. Even though it's silver, it still is a kilt, it's quite obvious. You look for the gill maggots, which are going to be in here, and it's just not pristine. So it's important not to mistake these for springers and get them back as quickly and safely as possible. Well done, Christian. And he's away.
Would have been a nice fish when he was full weight.
So having come up and fished up on the southern rivers for many years, there's a misconception that these rivers are completely inaccessible. Well, it's not entirely the case. If you're prepared to do a bit of research and speak to the right people, you can get on the classic rivers, the Brora, the Helmsdale, even the Naver. Okay, you might not get in August, you might not get in July, but early season, there is availability, and getting in on these early weeks gets your foot in the door, certainly with the potential to get fishing later on in the year. So it's not as difficult as you may think. And to be honest with you, I mean, we're here mid-February. It actually feels more like late March, mid-April. So it's we've been quite lucky, mind you, this year. It could easily be the other way, but nevertheless, it's fantastic water. At most levels, you're going to be able to fish. At this time of year, you're pretty much guaranteed to have water, and you're never really going to get too much of a dirty river here. So there's always spots you could fish. So all in all, it makes certainly a good trip for 3 days. If you're really keen, you can go for the whole week. Or what you can do is you could mix it up a bit and have 2 days on one river, 3 days on another river. That you could completely mix it up. What I will say is all these rivers, the Thurso, the Helmsdale, the Brora, and the Naver, and the Borgie, they've all got public water at the bottom. And in general, the public water on these beaches is some of the best in the country. Particularly in the summer when the water's a bit lower and the grills are coming in, I've seen myself, catch 4, 5, 6 fish on some of the association beats if you hit them right. So, the Thurso in particular is a cracking one, as is the Helmsdale. The Naver's got lovely water at Betty Hill, and generally the permits are available from your local shops, post offices or tackle shops. That's where you get them. They're But if anybody is looking for more information on that, just get in touch with us through our website, and we'll keep you right. Well folks, that brings us to the end of another show from up here in the county of Sutherland. We've been further up north at River Naver for the last 3 days. We've had very challenging conditions for February with a rising river, with the heavy rain we had yesterday. However, we did have some fun with the Celts, but it is early and we haven't had any springers. What's important for these shows is we will show you how it actually is. We're not going to come up here in February and paint a pretty picture where you're going to catch 3, 4, 5 springers in a day. It just doesn't happen, or certainly if it does, it's very, very rare. So the ethos of these shows is to show how it actually is. Later in the season, obviously there's more fish running rivers, so hopefully that'll make up for the lack of fish we have early season. When we do get springers, a springer is the prime prize. An early February springer certainly is the prime prize in salmon fishing. It's what everybody wants to catch. They're hard to come by, but the one thing is when you do get them, they are fantastic beasts. Behind me you've got the Falls of Shin, the River Shin, one of the most famous landmarks in the county of Sutherland, and one of the great places to come and watch salmon leap up these rivers in Sutherland. If you haven't come and fished Sutherland before, it's worthwhile doing a bit of research and coming up here, because it is more accessible than what you think. If you're looking for any more information on fishing up in Sutherland, or indeed the rest of Scotland or the UK, feel free to get in touch with us via our website, which is at www.flyfishingchannel.tv. And on that note, me and the team, we're going to head back down to Tayside, and we're going to prepare for the next show, which will be out in the coming weeks. So thanks very much for watching, and I hope you can tune in next time. Thank you very much.